Don't look outside.
When I was about 13 or 14, I used to go to my grandparents' house for months at a time during the summer. I loved staying there because we would go boating, ATVing, fix trucks and things, and camp. This is a secluded house with the neighbors being 10-20 miles apart, so we didn't see a whole lot of people. Being a teenager surrounded with a forest, I was intrigued as to what I could find. I would go out nearly every day and crick walk and hunt small game with a .22 rifle. One day, while outside, I stumbled across a carcass. It was about 2 to 3 days old. It had been shredded. It wasn't unusual to find carcasses that had been torn apart and eaten, but this wasn't eaten. It had just been torn apart. So I decided to walk slightly further past the carcass because I saw a metal glint. I found the head to the deer pinned to a tree. By this point, I'm freaked out because I know of stories my grandpa used to tell me about crazies in the wood. Until then, I just brushed them off as nothing but an urban legend. So, I take one of the small knives off the deer's head, pinning it to a tree, and take it home to show my grandparents. It was a buck knife, about 7 inches in length. When I bring it home, I stow it away. I had left trail markings where I was able to find the carcass the next day because I wanted to show my grandpa to ask him if it was normal. So the next day I take my rifle and head out. At this exact spot with my grandpa, and there's nothing there but a singular axe. The axe looked near century old. Carved into this axe's hand is, "Behold my works." We take this axe and put it into the shed. The next day I head out, but in the opposite direction. About 6 miles away from our house, I find a small shack. I decided to check out the cabin. Inside, I find a chair, a bucket, chains, what looked to be a small cabinet. In the small cabinet is a note. The note is dated September 18th, 1934. It says, "Behold my work by the time you have found me. I will have been long dead." This singular note scared me enough to run home. Later that night, I wake up to see a man walking by my house in old-timey clothes. He stops, pulls out an axe, drops it, and walks away. I wake up to see that the axe he dropped is the same axe marked with "Behold my works." By now, I'm freaked out. I asked my grandparents, and they said that a guy circa 1930s killed about 7 people around here. He would also kill animals and tear them apart. I never stay there overnight anymore and advise against going into the woods. I plan to go find the shack, and I hope to find his works so I can help bring closure to a long, unsolved case. Seeing him walk past my window will be forever scarred into my mind. I hope that the families of the unfound victims have closure. But being such an old case, I doubt he was found. I now heed warnings and stories from my elders, and I hope everyone reading this story will too. This is a true story. Actually secluded spots. This was only about 20 minutes from like a gas station. There was no cell service near the cabin. It stopped a minute down the road in. I didn't mind that because it was nice to decompress. The reviews of the place were all great. It had electricity and a clean, updated bathroom. Microwave and fridge, nothing fancy but clean. It had a nice front porch to sit on, and there was windows on every wall of the building to see out in the woods around it. The driveway came up from the back side of the cabin, stopped completely alongside the right. We sat around the fire until about 11:30. I put it out, and I go inside in bed with the dog, just putzing on my phone. The dog keeps becoming alert to noises outside, but I took it as it was the woods doing their thing. About 45 minutes into laying in bed, I heard a light knock at the door. To say I was fucking terrified is an understatement. My heart fucking dropped into my gut. I didn't answer, and I heard a light knock again about 30 seconds later. Now, I was wondering if something is like wrong with the Airbnb, and because there is no cell service, the owner can't get to me. Did I not notice the place was on fire? IDK. In this scenario, it all sort of runs through your head fast. The door was solid and locked, but there was a window to the right of it on the porch. I turned the porch light on and peeked my head in the window, and a guy was standing there. He didn't seem scary, necessarily. He may have been drunk, but he wasn't like smashing down the door or screaming. He immediately saw me. The windows were like mad old and shitty, so I could tell he'd be able to hear me even though it was closed. I said, "What do you want?" And he motioned his head toward the door to come into the cabin. I said, "Why?" With an attitude now, cause who the fuck is this? He says, "For sex." Now in my mind, I'm like, what? I told him this is highly inappropriate and you need to leave right now. I have a GPS cell phone and will call the police immediately. I didn't have a GPS phone, but I've always been a fast thinker. I hoped it would scare him off. He quickly turned around and left off the porch. The cabin was mostly one open room. I quickly laid back down in the bed, heart pounding. I didn't know if he was going to go get a gun, something to break in with. Directly across the bed from me is the window that looks out onto the driveway. I can see the running lights that turn on when your car doesn't have the lights actually on. I could see them backing up. I laid in bed in fear for about 3-4 minutes, honestly thinking of stuff I had to use as a weapon. It was COVID time, so I had rubbing alcohol and a lighter right there on my bedside table. My plan was, if he got in somehow, to light him on fire. I got up after a few minutes and went and pushed a dresser and chair in front of the door. The cabin was elevated, so I wasn't terribly worried about the windows, except the one on the porch. I laid back down in bed, lights off, terrified, and wide awake until the sun came up. He never came back. I packed up and left as soon as it was bright enough and messaged the Airbnb owner as soon as I got cell service. They said that nothing like that had ever happened, and they offered to help me file a police report. I didn't because I lived far away and I think it was a one-off thing. I'm not looking for sympathy. I just need someone else to admit they've heard it too. The knocking. Not from the door. From under the house. From beneath the floorboards. I was alone when it started. At least, I thought I was. It was supposed to be a quiet weekend. My cousin Leah had booked a last-minute trip and offered me her cabin in northern Maine. No Wi-Fi, no service, no neighbors for miles. I figured it would be good for me. Time to think. Get my head right. And it was. At first, the drive up was uneventful. The woods were dense, but beautiful in that lonely postcard kind of way. The road narrowed into a gravel path after the last town. 20 minutes later, the trees opened just enough to reveal the cabin. 2 stories, pitched roof, red-trimmed windows. Charming in an "I hope this place has a deadbolt" kind of way. The first thing I noticed was how quiet it was. No birdsong, no wind. Just that oppressive hush you get in deep woods, like the world's holding its breath. Inside, It was cleaner than I expected. Rustic but lived in. Firewood stacked by the stove, worn furniture, a rug that looked older than me. I dropped my bag, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and settled into the creaky armchair with a book. The first knock came that night. I'd been dozing, not quite asleep, but drifting, when I heard it, a slow, deliberate thump directly beneath me. Not the kind old houses make when they settle. This had intent. I froze. It came again, louder. Knock, 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 3, like a pattern. Then silence. I stood, heart thudding, and stepped off the rug. The boards creaked beneath my feet. I knelt, pressed my ear to the floor. Nothing. Just as I leaned back, it happened again, right beneath where I'd been sitting. Knock, 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 same spot, same rhythm. I wish I could say I grabbed my keys and left. But curiosity is a dumb thing, especially in the dark. I checked the crawl space. The hatch was in the kitchen, beneath a trapdoor that screamed every time it moved. I shined my flashlight down, but all I saw was dirt and lattice. No movement, no signs of animals, just the cold breath of earth. I convinced myself it was just the house, maybe the pipes, maybe some animal beneath the foundation. I went back to bed, but I didn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard it again. Only this time, it wasn't beneath the chair. It was beneath me. I was lying on the mattress in the loft when the knocking started, directly under the bed frame. Slower this time. Knock, knock, knock. I didn't move. I couldn't. My skin prickled. I stared at the ceiling like it held the answer. The knock came again, and this time, something scraped. Long, drawn out, wood on wood, like fingers. I finally moved, rolled off the mattress, grabbed my flashlight, and hauled ass down the stairs. Nothing chased me. No sound at all, until I stepped into the kitchen. There, on the trapdoor to the crawl space, were 3 fresh scratches. Not animal scratches. These were straight, deliberate, spaced like fingers. I didn't sleep that night, just sat on the porch with the flashlight clutched in both hands and my back to the cabin. Whatever it was, it stayed quiet until dawn. And then, it got worse. The next morning, I tried to leave. Car wouldn't start. Battery was fine, tank full, no visible issues. But when I turned the key, nothing. Not even a click. I tried my phone. Still no signal. That's when I heard it. Not the knocking. Breathing. From inside the cabin. I turned slowly. Through the front window I could see the loft, the bed, the shadows above it, and something standing at the foot of the mattress. It was tall. Too tall. Thin arms, crooked legs, a hunched frame that barely fit beneath the sloped ceiling. Its head was bent low, face hidden in shadow, but it was breathing. Slow, shuddering inhales, like each breath hurt. I blinked. It was gone. Just not there anymore. I ran inside, heart thundering. But there was nothing. No footprints, no blood, no sign anything had been there at all except 3 new scratches on the underside of the loft railing. I left the house again. This time I walked. I don't know how far I made it. Maybe 2 miles, but the woods felt wrong. Not just silent, dead. The trees looked darker, older, and at some point, the trail behind me was gone, like it had never been there. I circled back by instinct more than anything. By the time I saw the cabin again, the sky had gone gray, and there was something on the roof, not moving, just hunched at the peak like a gargoyle, watching. I didn't sleep that night either. The knocking didn't stop. It came in waves, sometimes beneath me, sometimes in the walls. Once, from inside the damn wood stove, I watched the trapdoor until morning. It never opened, but something else did. A drawer in the hallway. One I hadn't touched. Inside was a bundle of cloth. Old, yellowed, wrapped with string. I opened it. Hair. Human from the looks of it. And inside the braid, something was woven. A small carved shape. Bone, I think. Too detailed for coincidence. It looked like a figure, bent backward, over a ring of thorns. I left the bundle where I found it, but I think that was the final straw. Because that night, it came up from the floor. I was in the chair again facing the fire when I heard the trapdoor creak open behind me. Not fast, just patient. Like whatever was beneath the house had finally decided I was ready. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. But I heard the footsteps, bare feet on wood, slow, deliberate. They stopped right behind my chair. I could hear it breathing, not angry, not violent, just close. I don't remember falling asleep. I must have blacked out, because when I opened my eyes again, it was morning, and the trapdoor was closed. But the scratches were gone, every one of them. The rug was back in place. The cloth bundle vanished. Even the car started. I drove, didn't stop, didn't breathe. When I got home, there was a package waiting on my doorstep. No return address. Inside was a strip of leather, burned with a symbol. A figure bent backward over thorns. And underneath, 5 words, "You should not have looked." Now, every night, I hear it. The knocking in my walls. And sometimes, beneath my bed.